Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 100 ranked players in PPR for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be focusing on players 51 through 100, as I already did a video on players 1 through 50 on my channel from last week, so if you guys want to check that out and then watch this video, you are more than welcome to. Again, in this video, we're going to be talking about players 51 through 100 and going in depth as to why I have them ranked at each spot for PPR leagues this season. Now, there's going to be a slight difference between PPR and half PPR, and there's probably going to be a big difference between PPR and standard. So if you have any questions down below in the comment section about any of these players, regardless of the format, please let me know. I always try to answer all of the comments down below in a timely fashion. So before we get into this video, I want to ask if that at any point you end up enjoying today, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off at players 51 through 60. At 51, we have Myles Gaskin, running back of the Miami Dolphins. Now, player number 50 was Miles Sanders, and if I'm being honest with you, I think there is a very close gap between Myles Gaskin and Miles Sanders, as well as player number 52 in Mike Davis, running back of the Atlanta Falcons. So first, we're going to talk about Myles Gaskin here. Going into last season, Myles Gaskin was an undrafted fantasy football asset. No one was looking Myles Gaskin's way because this was going to be the Jordan Howard backfield. Some other people believed it would be the Matt Breida backfield, and it turned out that both of those guys were complete and utter dumpster fires for the Miami Dolphins, and they eventually just took them out of the games and brought in Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed to be the 1-2 punch for this team. And when Myles Gaskin was healthy and given the correct workload, this guy was a potential top 10, top 12 running back week in and week out. And this is with a Miami Dolphins offense that, in my opinion, is not even as good as I projected to be in 2021. I believe with the addition of Will Fuller, with them drafting Jalen Waddle, with the offensive line getting stronger as they grow up and they age a little bit more, they get a little bit better. And then this season, I think that the Miami Dolphins should be a relatively good team that does like to run the ball a lot in Brian Flores' system. I believe that Myles Gaskin is the workhorse running back on this team. Sure, Salvon Ahmed is going to be getting touches on this team, but Myles Gaskin will be getting all of the important touches, the goal line touches, the touches basically on first and second down. That's going to be Myles Gaskin all day, and especially on Sunday. I expect the Miami Dolphins offense to be scoring a bunch of times, and since we have such a, and I say we because as if I'm on the Miami Dolphins, right? I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I believe that the defense will be so strong that they'll be able to run the ball out late in games as long as Tua Tagovailoa takes that next step up, and Myles Gaskin's getting free points later on in the game. I like Myles Gaskin a lot this season, especially in PPR, because he is a very solid pass-catching running back. At 52, we have Mike Davis, running back of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, when I'm inside of the 4th round, Mike Davis is basically my pick every single time, and him and Myles Gaskin are super duper close in my rankings. If you say you like Mike Davis more than Myles Gaskin, I wouldn't even really argue with you. Mike Davis last year, after Christian McCaffrey got hurt for the Carolina Panthers, he filled that hole with grace. With beauty, with finesse. This guy looked like what Christian McCaffrey would look like if Christian McCaffrey wasn't as skilled, right? But that's not even a bad thing, because Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the NFL, but Mike Davis went into that role, which is a focal point of an offense. In the Carolina Panthers offense, the running back is a focal point in the offense, and Mike Davis fit it like a glove. Shout out to O.J. Simpson. Now he goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Sure, the Atlanta Falcons last year didn't have too much success running the ball because Todd Gurley had that knee injury that he's been suffering for a long time, that knee arthritis, so he doesn't succeed all that well, and he's left a sour taste in your mouth. Now, if you were watching my channel last year, I told you guys not to draft Todd Gurley, that Todd Gurley's a fucking bum because of his knee, and he's not going to do anything. But Mike Davis doesn't have any knee issues. Matt Ryan in the past with Devonta Freeman is able to dump the ball off. Mike Davis is the perfect 1-2 punch, and I see him as a real workhorse in this backfield. For the Dolphins, they do have Salvon Ahmed behind him, but for the Atlanta Falcons, there's really no running backs behind him at all, in my opinion, that can even contend to be the workhorse running back in this backfield. At 53, we have Adam Thielen, wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, going into last season, I was pretty high on Adam Thielen, and he put up a pretty solid season. I think that in Minnesota, while they do like to run the ball a whole lot with Dalvin Cook, we did see Justin Jefferson explode last year in his rookie campaign, and Adam Thielen basically just got cucked by Justin Jefferson when it comes to the glory of it all, right? Because Adam Thielen every single week, he's playing well. He's playing well, but Justin Jefferson's this rookie, this phenom who's doing the fucking gritty every time he scores a touchdown, and people are, they're feigning all over Justin Jefferson. But Adam Thielen is still a very safe pick in fantasy football. While Kirk Cousins isn't the greatest quarterback, he'll be able to get it done and throw the ball his way. I feel pretty confident as Adam Thielen as being one of the safer picks in fantasy football in this range. I don't think he necessarily has the upside to be a top 10 player, but you'd really be I would find it to be a very weird scenario if Adam Thielen didn't finish as a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy football for 2021. At 54, we have Kenny Bones, wide receiver of the New York Football Giants. Now, if you're hunting for upside, you would want to rank Kenny Golladay over Adam Thielen, in my opinion, because Kenny Golladay is the clear number one wide receiver for the New York Football Giants. But the biggest issue with Kenny Golladay is nothing to do with Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I think this guy is an immense talent. He's shown it off with Matt Stafford last season. He had that hip injury that ended up making him miss a bunch of games, so he was a bust last season technically because of injury. But this year on the New York Football Giants, he is going to be the number one wide receiver. They gave him this big paycheck. They took it out there and they put it on one of those huge checks you get when you win the lottery. Kenny G signed his name on there. Bada bing, bada boom. But the issue, like I said, has nothing to do with Kenny Golladay. It has to do with the quarterback, aka Danny Jones, aka Danny Fumbles, aka Danny Stumbles, aka your local accountant, because that's what Daniel Jones looks like. And I am not very confident that 2 years from now, Daniel Jones won't be your actual fucking accountant, because I don't believe in this guy as an NFL quarterback. The upside of Kenny Golladay is strangleholded. It is limited by Daniel Jones's play. But if Daniel Jones was to make this great leap, right, he's going to jump up and become a pretty solid quarterback. He does not fumble the ball away. He's not turning the ball over all the time during the game. Then Kenny Golladay can be amazing, but I think he's limited by Daniel Jones. That's why I got him here at 54, but if Daniel Jones really turns it up, I can definitely see Kenny Golladay being a top 10 wide receiver yet again. At 55, we have Josh Jacobs, running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we are at the point at the running back position where things start to fall off the edge of the earth after guys like Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, and Josh Jacobs. Now, I have Josh Jacobs at 55 because I have a lot of concerns. One of the biggest concerns is that they took the offensive line, they dismantled it, and then you know what they do to bring in, in free agency? There's a bunch of offensive linemen you can pick up, right? They're going to rebuild this. It's going to be all good. And you know what John Gruden says? He calls up Kenyon Drake on the phone. He rings Kenyon Drake. He says, "Hey, Kenyon, do you want to be the running back 2 of the Las Vegas Raiders?" And Kenyon says, "Hell yeah, let me sign, blah, blah, blah." He does that. He signs there. So the offensive line is definitely worse than last year. And now they have Kenyon Drake. And Josh Jacobs is a guy that has struggled immensely in his career at the NFL level to get those targets. Up last season, basically, John Gruden's talking up Mike Mayock. They're all talking about how Josh Jacobs is going to be this pass-catching running back now. He's going to be getting all these targets. And you know what happened? We didn't see that uptick in targets to the point that would have elevated Josh Jacobs to superstardom for fantasy football. So you take that with the fact that he's not going to get a lot of targets, and now you add Kenyon Drake, who's a very talented pass-catching running back, and the fact is that this move tells me that John Gruden doesn't believe in Josh Jacobs. Sure, he drafted him in the first round. I don't know why he did that if he doesn't believe in him. It seems like Josh Jacobs is a good running back, but in the situation he's in Viva Las Vegas, I do not like it. I don't like it at all. I believe that it is going to be not necessarily a humongous split share to where Josh Jacobs isn't worth a pick inside of like the 4th or the 5th round, but I do think that his upside is completely capped by the addition of Kenyon Drake. At 56, we have Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the quarterbacks in inside of my top 100 rankings are kind of scattered all over the place because I'm not a person who's sitting there early on in the draft who's looking to get a quarterback. Get a guy like Lamar Jackson in round 3, round 4, where he's going to go in a bunch of leagues. That's why he's ranked back here at 56. Do I think Lamar Jackson will be worth pick 56? Fuck yes, because I think that Lamar Jackson is one of the safest quarterbacks in fantasy football. This guy just has so much rushing opportunity game in and game out with how much he calls zone number as well as how much the head coach in Harbaugh is calling the plays to get the ball into Lamar Jackson's hands. He's going to be able to get potentially another 1,000-yard rushing season. If he puts up 4,000 yards passing or some crazy number, maybe even higher, this guy could be the legitimate quarterback one in fantasy football, so I like him at pick number 56. Again, you're probably never going to get him at that value. The reason why he's pushed back further in my rankings is because I'm not someone who is getting overwhelmingly antsy in the draft to draft a quarterback. I don't believe that the quarterback is a real focal point of your fantasy football team. I believe you can wait much later, even past the 100 players we're going to be ranking. You can wait even further and find a guy who's quarterback 15, 14 off the board, and that guy's going to be perfectly fine for your roster. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't draft Lamar Jackson? No. You can definitely draft Lamar Jackson, and you could be very happy with him finishing as the quarterback one, but I'm just not as ambitious as other folks who are going to be able to want to take him inside of like the 3rd round. We are about 12 minutes into this video, so if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button as well to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see it. At 57, we have Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I have these guys so close, but it's for different reasons. With Lamar Jackson, it's really just that rushing upside that is going to take him over that edge. But for Dak Prescott, it's the complete opposite. It's that passing attack that the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to be using game in and game out. Their defense is fucking atrocious, sir. In the 2021 NFL draft, they're trying to build back up that defense, but it takes a little bit of time for all those rookies to end up hitting and becoming, and they're not all going to hit, obviously, right? The NFL draft is a crapshoot. It's not necessarily a crapshoot. It's not impossible to figure out who's going to be good, but when you draft this many defensive players, some of them are not meant to bust, but they're going to end up being busts for their team in the NFL, and Dak Prescott's going to be having to air the ball out a whole ton. I believe that Dak Prescott is going to be more than capable of doing that like we saw last season. I think based off the back of him throwing the ball so many times, he could also be the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy football. He also has sneaky rushing upside, but he's obviously not like Lamar Jackson, who's going to run out there, hit a guy with a stiff arm, do some type of fucking 360 twirl like he's ice skating or something and run a guy over. You know, that's just not what Dak Prescott's gonna do. But at the end of the day, I'm very confident in his safety. At 28, we have Courtland Sutton, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. Now, going into last season, I was a big Courtland Sutton truther. I was standing on top of the mountains calling for what was going to be a excellent season. Like 2019 was his breakout season. He fucking ripped down the wall and was balling out. And then in 2020, he was looking to keep up with it. And then instead, his leg gets fucked up. He gets hurt. He plays one game, out for the whole season. Out for the whole season, out for the count. And we saw this offense struggle. But I believe regardless of the quarterback situation, whether it's Horsecock Drew Lock, whether it's fucking Teddy Two Gloves, it doesn't matter. Because this team should be better overall with Judy and Courtland Sutton together on the same team. I believe that makes it so that you can't really double either of those guys because of how much of a talent Jerry Jeudy as well as Courtland Sutton is. I think that people are sleeping heavily on Courtland Sutton's upside, and if something was to happen where Aaron Rodgers gets traded there or something, then you're looking at a potential top 10 wide receiver in what could be both wide receivers there in Denver with Drew Lock, with Teddy Bridgewater. A little more tame here at 58 with Courtland Sutton. At 59, we have Tyler Lockett, wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, if you're hunting for upside week in, week out, Tyler Lockett is your guy. But if you're looking for some safety week in, week out, Tyler Lockett is not that guy, pal. Trust me, you're not that guy. Because when you draft Tyler Lockett, at least from last season's standpoint, this guy will have a shitty game. I'm talking like goose egg type of deal here. And then I'll have the next week where he blows the back out of a defense. He drops like 40 fantasy points, and you're like, why did I ever doubt Tyler Lockett? You put him in next week, and this dude takes a steaming hot shit on your chest, like something that Odell Beckham Jr. would like, according to that rumor. And you're just so mad. And then you start him again. You're like, you know what? That was a fluke. And he plays bad. And he plays bad again. But then the next week, this guy's on top of the world again, dropping 40 points. And every single week, you're sitting there just pulling your hair out, just thinking, what the fuck do I do with Tyler Lockett? And in some cases, when you're taking these super safe wide receivers, if you're going D-Hop, Calvin Ridley to start, the 1-2, round 1, round 2, and then in like the 5th, 6th round for your flex, you're looking at a guy like Tyler Lockett. You draft Tyler Lockett, and then boom, he's your flex. He's that high upside pick. But if he's going to be like your wide receiver 2, or maybe even your wide receiver 1, if you go 3 running backs at the beginning, you draft a tight end or something, then Tyler Lockett ends up being your wide receiver 1. You are going to be severely angry with him. That's why he's at 59. But his upside, week in, week out, is immense. It is huge. He does have that big play potential that not many wide receivers in the NFL have. But with the biggest issue with Tyler Lockett is that I believe that Pete Carroll, that gum-chewing motherfucker, is going to go back to his old ways of trying to run the ball, pound the rock. Now, he didn't do that up against the New England Patriots, if we seem to remember. He threw an interception there. He made them throw the ball instead of just running it with Marshawn, automatic touchdown. You know, the Seahawks fans have heard that enough, but I think that they're going to try to run the ball more, and that's also going to hurt Tyler Lockett. At number 60, we have Kyle Pitts, tight end of the Atlanta Falcons. I love Kyle Pitts. I've watched his tape so many times. Every single time you watch that highlight tape or you just watch a game of his, your pants are soiled. It's not because you pissed yourself because he's so bad. It's because it's getting creamy downstairs or something, because, man, oh man, Kyle Pitts is a thing of beauty. But people are going to draft him far too high. Far too high, because he would have to have like the greatest rookie tight end season ever to finish as like a top 3 tight end, which we barely ever see these rookie tight ends break the wall down and play amazing. Now, could he? 100%, because people are comparing Kyle Pitts to Calvin Johnson, Megatron himself. So there's a 100% chance that he could play well and be the best rookie tight end ever, but I'm not gonna, put the stamp of approval, fucking plant my flag into the ground and declare that Kyle Pitts is gonna be that great. I'm fine taking him. I think Atlanta is a great team, but I think in a lot of leagues, people are going to get involved in the rookie hype. They're going to buy into Kyle Pitts and draft him in like round 3, round 4, and at that price, I'm not paying it. But if he falls a little bit later, round 5, round 6, then boom, welcome to the team, Kyle Pitts. Now we got players 61 through 70. At number 61, we have Brandon Aiyuk, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the more I looked into this situation in San Francisco, I realized that Deebo Samuel is not necessarily injury prone, right? Because you can't call a guy injury prone because that technically doesn't exist, right? According to what some doctors say. But if you're looking at it, at college, he dealt with some injuries. At the pro level, he's dealt with some injuries. And I'm talking about Deebo here, not Aiyuk. I hope I made that clear. Maybe I said Aiyuk at the beginning, but Deebo has really dealt with these injuries. So if that continues to happen, and Aiyuk is more talented than him in my opinion, then Aiyuk is going to be an excellent pick this season. The reason why I don't have him ranked as high is because there's obviously a chance that a quarterback change could occur. That a quarterback change occurs, it goes to Trey Lance, and they're trying to run the ball more because that's Trey Lance's specialty. Sure, he threw all those touchdowns with no interceptions in 2019, all these huge numbers, but his biggest talent for the San Francisco 49ers, and what the 49ers like to do, is run the ball. So that kind of hurts Brandon Aiyuk, but overall I feel he is a very solid wide receiver, and I think he should be able to put up a great sophomore season with or without Deebo Samuel, but with the issues of Deebo kind of being injury prone, I like Brandon Aiyuk even more. At 62, we have Chase Claypool, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I expect them to try to run the ball more this season. Their offensive line last year was battered down. James Conner couldn't do anything. But now they bring in Najee Harris, and while the offensive line still sucks, right? It's bad. But Najee Harris is better than James Conner, so he should be able to do more work with a bad offensive line. But at the end of the day, even if they try to run the ball more, so what? Because they're still going to pass the ball at a very high rate because of how bad the offensive line is. It's better to just stand in shotgun, and Big Ben fucking prays to the football gods that he doesn't end up dying out there because he always looks like he's hurt. And Chase Claypool seemed to be one of the best targets on this team for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you are all aboard the train of fading Deontay Johnson, now I'm a big Deontay Johnson fan, so I'm going to talk positively about Deontay Johnson. But if you're against Deontay Johnson, you believe that this guy has butterfingers, he can't catch the ball to save his life, then you know what you do? You draft Chase Claypool every single time inside of the 5th or 6th round. Every time. Because Juju, in my opinion, is not the guy there. Juju had his time in the limelight. I believe, and I've said this on multiple occasions, that Juju should not have signed back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. His best way to become more relevant again is to start TikTok dancing Corvette in Kansas City. In Baltimore, where he could be. In Baltimore, he could be the wide receiver one of the team. In Kansas City, he's right behind Tyreek Hill in a high-powered offense. But where he is in Pittsburgh, I think Claypool and Johnson are better than him, so I don't have a lot of confidence in Juju. Chase Claypool put up a bunch of touchdowns last year. This team's still going to be passing the ball at a pretty high rate. I'm very convinced that Chase Claypool is a talented player and having a even better sophomore season in 2021. Next up, we got another Chase at number 63, and that's running back of the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, after that kind of tier at running back that we talked about earlier, from 50 to 60, we enter confusion season. And Chase Edmonds is the king of confusion season because I'm a little more comfortable with the other running back, but I think that if Chase Edmonds is the lead running back, which I, again, don't even really believe, because there's a reason why Cliff Kingsbury ended up bringing in James Conner. Now, James Conner, he's also one of those guys you can actually stamp with the injury proneness. This guy gets hurt every single year. So maybe that elevates Chase Edmonds. But don't be surprised if this is a 50-50 like split between the two running backs with Edmonds and James Conner. Last year, when Kenyon Drake went down, we didn't see Edmonds step up. Even when Drake was struggling immensely at multiple gaps in last season, Cliff Kingsbury just kept rolling him out. He kept pushing him out there and not giving Chase Edmonds the chance that he deserves. Now, will he be given that chance this year is the question. Sure, where he's going, he's a fine pick, because you're just looking for the upside there. But I am very worried about the fact that James Conner could end up easily being the lead back on this team. That's why he's at 63. At 64, we have Titty Boy T. Higgins, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, all wide receivers that I will be targeting this season. I believe that the Cincinnati Bengals offense, a lot like the Dallas Cowboys offense, and I've made this comparison on live stream yesterday at the Fantasy Stock Exchange doing a mock draft with Bush. We talked about how maybe the Cincinnati Bengals are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC when talking about just team composition, right? The Dallas Cowboys have Dak, a good to great quarterback. In my opinion, Dak's great. Some people say he's just good. Okay, whatever. He has Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. That's a very good wide receiver core. And their defense sucks ass, so they have to throw the ball a lot. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, good to what could be a great quarterback. Obviously, there's a reason why he was drafted number 1 overall last year, gets hurt. Good to great overall quarterback. They have Jamar Chase. They have T. Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd. Now, you might argue, oh, the Dallas Cowboys have a better wide receiver core, but it's a similar build with a shitty defense. So if T. Higgins, any given week, these guys can carry your team by themselves because of how much pass volume is going to go on the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm fine if you have T. Higgins ranked ahead of Jamar Chase. I'm fine if you have Jamar Chase ranked ahead of T. Higgins. I think that Tyler Boyd's going to be the odd man out there, right? He'll have some big games, he'll have some down games, but I still think Tyler Boyd is a guy that I'm going to be looking to get in my drafts. Confident in all these Bengals guys, and I really do like T. Higgins this season. He showed off a ton of talent last year and really proved me wrong. At 65, we have Damian Harris, running back of the New England Deflatriots. Now, there's a whole lot of smoke, whole lot of, gunpowder, I don't know what you want to call it. whole lot of noise. I guess the noise, right? That's the word about Damien Harris being the running back one. They're talking about that. Beat reporters saying this, and it's like, the beat reporters, did you not realize what we saw last season? Damien Harris is the guy in this backfield. Now, the question on Damien Harris is, for one, that Bill Belichick's kind of one of those coaches that if Damien Harris starts to struggle, this guy's getting fucking cranked out of there. He's getting, see you later, Damien Harris. Bill Belichick just throws these running backs out. It's like that meme, you know what I'm talking about, where it's the Toy Story thing, it's Andy and it's Woody, and he throws Woody on the ground. He's like, I don't want to play with you anymore. That's what Bill Belichick does to these running backs. Shout out to Sony Michel over there in New England. He doesn't want him anymore, it seems, but Damien Harris should be the guy in this backfield. Another big issue with him is his pass catching. He did do it at Alabama at a pretty solid rate, but at the NFL level, he has not been given that workload in the pass catching game, which will hurt Damien Harris overall, though I do feel like this New England Patriots defense is much stronger this season. A lot of the guys opted out last season. They got a bunch of new pieces in the offseason. Looks good. If the offense is better, they brought in new weapons. You would think, hey, this could be a actually good team in 2021. Then Damien Harris looks like a steal at 65, which I believe he will be. At 66, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert, quarterback of the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert obviously has an excellent 2020 campaign, winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He wins the Pepsi Rookie of the Year as well, which I think is a different award. Congratulations, Justin Herbert. You beat my expectations to a bloody pulp. I thought that Justin Herbert was going to be a bust, a bust like you watch on the other tube, all right? That's what I was thinking he was going to be, and he completely beat down those expectations. Tyrod Taylor gets hit with the stabby stab by the doctor. Herbert comes in week 2 up against the Chiefs. Former last year's Super Bowl champion, like during not technically, right, the Bucks were, but at that time, the former Super Bowl champions, the reigning Super Bowl champions, and he almost beats them. And he's putting up these big numbers. And then he just continues. I'm like, oh, maybe that's a fluke, right? In my head, I'm like, yeah, maybe that was a fluke. But then no, he keeps on stomping. He keeps on trekking. And this offense is good. If they're able to stay healthy, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Jared Cook is their tight end, and Jared Cook's pretty solid. So I think that Justin Herbert's in a very good situation, and if he uses his legs even more, he's another one of those guys that I would consider to be in the top 5 conversation for quarterbacks in 2021. At 67, we have Dallas Goedert, tight end of the Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Goedert is going to be an immense steal as long as they get rid of Zach Ertz, which has not happened yet. I've talked about this on multiple occasions, how I believe heavily in Dallas Goedert. He will be one of the guys I write about on awesomeo.com. Make sure you guys check out Awesomeo. I'm going to be posting videos on their website, on their YouTube page, as well as mine. Don't worry, I'm not going to be leaving you guys, but I'm going to be posting additional content on there, but I'll let you guys know when the articles are out so you can read them. But Dallas Goedert is one of those guys. Why do I believe that? Because when Zach Ertz was injured in the last 2 years, Dallas Goedert's stepping up and looks like he could be a top 5 tight end in fantasy football. Now, the biggest pushback on Dallas Goedert is Zach Ertz, as well as who the fuck the quarterback is going to be there in Philadelphia. Now, I know it seemed like it was an easy answer. It's Jalen Hurts, right? But there's news that just keeps being shouted from, not even from the mountaintops. You know what those cheerleaders have on the sideline in high school, where it's like that big megaphone type of deal, and they're like, woo woo, or whatever they were saying, I don't fucking remember. But yeah, they're screaming out of that thing that Mr. Deshaun Watson might be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that's better for Dallas Goedert, but not good at all for Jalen Hurts, who we're going to be talking about later. At 68, we have Robby Anderson, wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers. Robby Anderson is one of those guys that I don't really feel too much about. I think there's a lot of people that are on one end about Robby Anderson, about the immense upside with Sam Darnold, with a better offense. They love Robby Anderson. Then there's people on the opposite end. Robby Anderson didn't perform really well in the New York Football Jets with Darnold, so you throw Robby Anderson out, right? I'm not drafting him. In my opinion, he's just a guy inside of this draft range who I'm not super excited to draft, right? I've talked about this before, how there's these players that when you see them on the draft board, you just get even if you're a woman, you just get a mental boner. You're just mentally erect to draft this guy. But that doesn't happen to me for Robby Anderson. But I'm still pretty confident in him. I think Sam Darnold is either a step up or the same as Teddy Bridgewater, or a slight decline. But it doesn't matter because Robby Anderson is the wide receiver 2 in this offense. They got rid of Curtis Samuel to potentially give even more targets to a guy like Robby Anderson. I like DJ Moore a lot as well. So I'm fine drafting Robby Anderson, but I just don't feel super special about him at 68. At 69, very nice. I like my name is Borat. I'm so sorry that I do the Borat fucking impression in every video. I know some people definitely hate it, but a lot of the comments seem to very much like Mia Borat, yes? All right, 69, Raheem Mostert, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I like Raheem Mostert. I like Trey Sermon, who I'm going to talk about later. I think Raheem Mostert is going to be getting the first licks at it, the first touches at it, because he's the veteran. He's done it before for the San Francisco 49ers. I talked about Aiyuk, how they like to run the ball. Mostert, pretty good at running the ball. They run the ball a lot every single game. They use the running back by orgy, the RBBO. Most teams use the RBBC, running back by committee. Nah, this is a running back by orgy. I'm telling you, I would not be surprised at all if Kyle Shanahan put on the pads and ran the ball a couple of times for this team because he uses everything. He'll put Brandon Aiyuk in his running back. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo was out there and he handed the ball off to Trey Lance because they just spread the load. They fucking unleash the load like it's a threesome scene on another website. So I like Raheem Mostert here as a solid upside running back. There's not much safety when it comes to Raheem Mostert, but there is a lot of upside. At 70, we have Ronald Jones, running back of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield is one of my backfields to avoid because week in, week out, you are going to be pulling your hair out. You're going to be disgruntled. You're going to be waking up on Sunday morning, sitting there looking at your lineup. You're probably going to be watching, maybe you'll be watching my live stream. Shout out to myself, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button down below. But you're sitting there Sunday morning, and you're like this. You've drank 12 pots of coffee, you've done a line of Coke off the table, and you still can't figure out what to do. You still cannot figure out what to do because Bruce Arians is a liar. He is a notorious liar. He just lies all the fucking time. He'll tell you, hey, great game, Ronald Jones, you're the guy next week. And then next week, Leonard Fournette's the guy. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? You just told me it was Ronald Jones. And then he'll say, oh, Leonard Fournette's the guy, then it's Ronald Jones, and you are just jumbled everywhere. You're getting tossed and turned around. Okay? But at the end of the day, if Leonard Fournette was to get hurt, then Ronald Jones will be amazing. Top 10 potential in Tampa Bay. Shout out to Tom Brady, who apparently played with a torn MCL all of last season. If that's true, this guy really is the GOAT. I mean, he's the GOAT anyways. I hate Tom Brady personally. Not anymore, because in Tampa Bay I like him, but when he was on the Patriots as a Dolphins fan, fuck that guy. But Ronald Jones is on such a solid offense that he's worth the shot, but week in, week out, it's going to be tough to figure out who to start. Unless, of course, Leonard Fournette and Bruce Arians get into an argument again, and maybe Bruce Arians just cuts Uncle Lenny's ass. Now on to players 71 through 80. At 71, we have the Slim Reaper, Devonta Smith, wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles. After that, we got Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos, and Jamar Chase, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. Then I feel like there's a tier break right there after 73, which goes to Brandon Cooks. But we're going to break those guys down. Devonta Smith, wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles. Very high draft pick this year because he won the Heisman, because he was so good in college. You don't win the Heisman without being an excellent player. Does the Heisman mean you're going to have NFL success? No. But it does show that obviously he had great talent at the collegiate level. Devonta Smith, in my opinion, has a pretty high chance of finishing as the best rookie wide receiver in fantasy football. It's really just Smith and Chase fighting for that role. I think, sure, there is a world where Will Fuller gets hurt or something, knock on wood, I hope not as a Dolphins fan, or Devontae Parker, and Jalen Waddle's really just getting the ball fucking slung at him repeatedly, then yeah, there's definitely a chance that Waddle is that guy. But it's really a close fight between Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase. But Devonta Smith, to me, is the clear wide receiver one in this offense. He's the guy who is going to be getting fed by Jalen Hurts, maybe Deshaun Watson, maybe Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers might leave, you never know. But I think that Devonta Smith is a relatively safe pick, as I am very confident that he is better than Jalen Reagor. I'm not throwing Jalen Reagor out. I think he could still be a fine wide receiver. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, that guy's ass. So Devonta Smith is the number one wide receiver on this team. I think he'll be the number one wide receiver in targets, and you're able to find a wide receiver one in targets this late in the draft. I like it. 72, we got Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. Just like with Courtland Sutton, I think this team is much better with the two of them together. You can make an argument that Jeudy is going to finish higher than Sutton, and I would not even argue with you about that. I wouldn't. It's just going to be whoever gets the more targets, and probably will depend on who the quarterback is. I think we could see like 5,000 quarterback changes this season. We could see Locke start, and then they throw in Teddy Roosevelt, aka Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves, and they take him out and they put in Locke. We could see multiple quarterback changes next season, but I still think that Jerry Jeudy, who struggled with drops last season, will be able to have honed in on that, catch more passes. Maybe if it's not Locke and it's Bridgewater, you feel a bit safer, but personally, I hope it's Locke because Locke's going to take those big dick chances. There's a reason why I call him Horsecock Drew Lock, because he asserts dominance on the defense. He's going to make a throw that could end up in an interception, but it could also end up in like an 80-yard touchdown to a guy like Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. I personally would prefer that. I like Jerry Jeudy for the Broncos. 73, Jamar Chase, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. Talked about it a little bit earlier. Would I be surprised if he beat out T. Higgins in fantasy points? Not at all. Joe Burrow's guy in college at LSU when they won the national championship with Coach O. Go Tigers. It was Jamar Chase. Not Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was great, right? Justin Jefferson tore the NFL a new asshole last season, and Jamar Chase could do the exact same thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Not too much to say about Mr. Chase. At 74, we have Brandon Cooks, wide receiver of the Houston Texans. The same narrative with Devonta Smith is what I want to spew here for Brandon Cooks, but the reason why he's a tier below, in my opinion, is because Brandon Cooks, who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback? Is it Tyrod Taylor? Young gets stabbed in the fucking, I don't even remember what he stabbed in the ribs, I think. Tyrod Taylor? Is it Davis Mills? Is it Deshaun Watson? I don't know. I have no idea. My guess is as good as yours. So why do you like him then? Because he's the wide receiver one on a team that you can get late. And there's a lot of value in that. At number 75, we have Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. 76, Mr. Discount, double check, Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of the Packers. Me, in my head, I'm putting Rodgers above Wilson once I know what team he's on. But right now, Wilson is probably safer because, Wilson's not going to just retire. There's a possibility that Aaron Rodgers just takes his cap, hangs it up, and is done. He's just done. He goes to do Jeopardy, whatever. Maybe he doesn't even do Jeopardy. Maybe he's just out in Hawaii just doing whatever, right? That's fine. Aaron Rodgers can do that. But if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, then he's going above Russell Wilson. The reason why I'm lower on Russell Wilson than most, I think, is because of the fact that I believe, like I said earlier, that Pete Carroll's just going to chomp his gum and get back to his old ways, back to his old coaching style of running the ball. He said it at the end of the last season. Hey, we need to run the ball more. Russ is cooking it up like fucking Gordon Ramsay, like Guy Fieri in the kitchen, and that's not good enough for me, is basically what he was saying. So I'm worried about Russell Wilson. Would I still draft him? Yes. But I think there's a scenario where a couple of games next season, not the greatest for Russell Wilson because they're running the ball so much. Again, Rodgers, I like him a lot, but what team will be the quarterback of? Not too sure. 77, Noah Fant, tight end of the Denver Broncos. Now, with Aaron Rodgers, I've really talked about how I think he's going to be the Broncos quarterback, but the longer we wait, the longer this holdout keeps going, once it gets into training camp in like a week or two, and he's not there, then we start to pull back even further. And I will start to put on, I need to get one of those like DEF CON symbols behind me. Like, from like, I think that's like a DEF CON. What is that? It's in the COD Zombies map from Black Ops 1 and 5, but it's also like a legitimate thing, like with how bad a situation is. I don't even remember which one's worse, 1 or 5, but it's in full-on DEF CON mode. There's going to be red flashing lights behind me, like you're getting pulled over or something. I don't know. It's just going to be danger zone full-on if Aaron Rodgers just doesn't show up to camp. I'm going to get worried. At 77, we have Noah Fant, tight end of the Denver Broncos. Again, I really like this offense. Noah Fant is one of the most talented or most athletically gifted tight ends in the NFL, but the issue is, his quarterback. So that's kind of an issue. But with Noah Fant, he's in the range of tight end where I'm just not drafting a tight end, right? I didn't get one of those guys that I actually really like, a guy like Kelsey, Waller, Kyle Pitts, Hawkinson, Mark Andrews. Then there's these guys. And that's at the range where I'm just like, you know what? I don't really want to draft them. I'll just wait to get Irv Smith, Tyler Higbee, one of the more upside players later. So that's kind of the range Noah Fant is in. 78, we have Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'm not a fan of Juju, like I said. I think he's the wide receiver 3 in this offense. But when you throw the ball as heavily as this team does, he's going to crack the top 80. But I'm not very confident in Juju. At 79, we have OBJ, wide receiver of the Cleveland Browns. Now, you guys just wait. Right now, everyone seems to be with me. We're all together now, like we're in High School Musical. We're all chanting Odell Beckham Jr., down with Odell. Like, I don't want to draft Odell Beckham Jr., but I see the upside. That's why he's at 79, because he still has the skill that he had back in New York. When he's reaching back like 1-3, making these crazy plays. Look how much I'm sweating, boys. That is disgusting, boys and girls. I apologize. I shouldn't be raising my hands anymore because the fan is off so that you guys can hear correctly. I'm sweating my balls off here. I've been recording for 40 minutes, but it is what it is. We're having a great time today. But what I'm saying is that Odell still has that skill, but can he fight within himself to get that out? And they run the ball so much that I'm very worried about Odell, but I know, you guys better believe by the time we're sitting there in August, you're sitting there doing your draft, some asshat in your league will draft Odell high, or some other fantasy expert, analyst, whatever you want to call people like myself who talk on the internet. I don't call myself an expert. I'm just a fantasy analyst just a guy who talks about fantasy football on the internet. But yeah, what I was saying is that Odell Beckham Jr., people will talk him up. Everyone loves Odell Beckham Jr. He's fun, right? He's a fun guy. But you're not playing in a points per having fun league, okay? You're having a points per reception league, according to these ranks. You're having a points per doing something on the NFL football field, and Odell has not done anything impressive for me in years. At 80, we have Baby Chark, Baby Chark, DJ Chark of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have taken my DJ Chark, who I thought was going to the moon, as the kids say nowadays, to the rocket ship to space, and I have backtrack like fucking Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious. I'm pulling back completely. I'm going reverse because I see the upside in Chark, but until we see anything in August, you won't catch me drafting DJ Chark where he's going, because he's going way too high, and there is a very good chance that he's not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. He's not the number one wide receiver on that team. There's a chance that by the time that the NFL starts, Trevor Lawrence thinks that Shenault is his number one target, or he likes Marvin Jones better. So that's why I'm scared of Chark, because he's going the highest. There's a lot of risk that comes with that. When you're drafting Shenault a couple rounds later, there's a lot less risk. There is no risk in drafting Marvin Jones in like round 10, 11, where he's going with the upside that he has as the Jaguars' potential number one wide receiver. So that's why I'm fading DJ Chark again. I think he's a good receiver, but in that situation, I am very, very squeamish there. I'm a little bit worried. Now on to players 80 through 90. We're going to start to get a little bit faster here. Rapido, as they would say in Espanol, because we are so deep into this video. I thought my OBS crashed, which is how I record this, because it just froze. That's why there was like a edit right there when I was talking about the Jaguars players, and I got nervous because I've been recording for 45 minutes, and that would have been very, very bad. So James Robinson, Travis Etienne, back-to-back Michael Jordan 96-97 Jacksonville players, back-to-back, actually, Shaq and Kobe 2000 to 2002, because we had Chark over there. Now, James Robinson is one of my guys that I really... Well, I didn't even like him going in the last year. I'm not even going to fucking lie to you, right? I thought that it was Divine Ozigbo season or Rock Armstead or someone there. I caught a liking to one of those guys, and it was wrong. Just never been more wrong. That is the most wrong I've ever been. I thought James Robinson was a bum. He was undrafted, all these things, and he balls the fuck out. And so going into this year, before the NFL draft, I am very excited about James Robinson. But then Urban Meyer took my world and twisted it upside down like I'm Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's basically what he did. He took James Robinson, threw him into a blender. James Robinson had so much talent, so much potential, but it's limited completely by Travis Etienne. I think that Etienne is going to be a high waste of a pick that a lot of people are going to be suckered into, again, because they're a rookie and people will talk him up. So I'm fading Travis Etienne. I think James Robinson is going to actually be the lead back, but how long will it be? It'll probably end up being just one of those split shares like we're to see with Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, that you just want to be completely fading. I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. At 83, Leonard Fournette, running back of the Bucs. Again, it's really a pick your poison between these two. Some people like Rojo, others like Leonard Fournette. If one of them ends up getting hurt, I'm sorry for saying a bunch of times, but if one of them gets hurt, then you're very happy, right? You're like, oh, you're not happy, obviously. I don't want a guy to get hurt, but for your team, you're like, oh, look, I have Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones out. Now I have a top 10 running back, potentially. But if not, every week, you're indecisive, you're trying to figure it out, you better just hope that the other guys on your team are good to go every single week, and then in your bye, you just throw them in, and they have some upside. At 84, we have Deebo Samuel, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I talked about him being kind of injury-prone. I still like him a decent amount because he's a really good wide receiver, but with the injury worries and with the fact that they may switch up quarterbacks to Trey Lance, I kind of pivoted back on Deebo. At 85, we have Tyler, Boyd, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals, one of my guys from last season, put up some big numbers when Joe Burrow was under center. Hopefully Joe Burrow is able to stay healthy all season. We see a good Jamar Chase, Boyd, as well as T. Higgins. I think Boyd, he's not the odd man out, but I think he's going to be the one that scores the least amount of points in this offense. That's why I have him at 85. At 86, we have Trey Sermon, running back of the 49ers. Some people are drafting him ahead of Raheem Mostert. I understand it. He's the young gun out of the Ohio State University who's going to potentially be able to put up these big numbers on a run-heavy team. I think Raheem Mostert's going to get the first licks at it, and if he's able to keep it for a long enough of a time, then Sermon will fall further back in the end-of-season rankings. At number 87, 88, we got Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, both running backs of the Denver Broncos. A lot of people, now, I talked about Travis Etienne, how people are on him. People are riding Javonte Williams' dick. Straight up. They are just dick riding Javonte Williams, thinking that Javonte Williams is going to be able to beat out Melvin Gordon, all these things. I think Javonte Williams is better than Melvin Gordon, or he could be, but this year is what you're playing. You're playing for redraft. Melvin Gordon's on the final year of his contract. Why would they not just squeeze out all of Melvin Gordon all over the field, just hammer him in there, and then in 2022, you just close your eyes, and boom, there you go. It's Javonte Williams season. But in 2021, I'm sorry to tell you, I don't think it's going to be. I think that this is going to be a close snap share. And sure, maybe Williams beats out Gordon. But then what is it? 55-45 when you're with both of them. There's no way this turns to 60-40. There's no way this turns to 70-30. This is going to be a hellhole for fantasy football that people are going to buy into. Not this year, baby. Not with me here. Dikembe, no. At 88, we have Curtis Samuel, wide receiver of the Washington football team. I always put WAS because a lot of people put WFT, and that looks like what the fuck, and I always get really confused, and I realize they're talking about the Washington football team, who for some reason still do not have a name. Curtis Samuel goes from Carolina to Washington with Riverboat Ron, obviously there. Riverboat Ron was coach in Carolina. Curtis Samuel's he's like a Swiss Army, not like, I call Taysom Hill the Swiss Army knife, right? He can do everything. He's kind of like that, but he can't throw the ball. And he doesn't play tight end either. But Curtis Samuel is one of those guys that can do these end arounds. You can give him this nice bubble screen. He does his thing. He's the wide receiver 2 on the team. The reason why I'm a little bit lower than maybe some on Curtis Samuel is because of Fitzmagic. I think Fitzpatrick can definitely elevate McLaurin even in those bad games to play good. But there's going to be those Fitzmagic games where Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin all light it up. But there's going to be those games where it's the Fitztragic game. Sure, McLaurin could still probably play okay in that game. But in a bad game for Fitzpatrick, things start burning down. It goes from bad to worse to terrible to fuck my ass, right? I am screwed. And there's going to be games like that for Curtis Samuel, but I still think Fitzpatrick's a huge step up, and this is a much better situation for Samuel than last season. At 90, closing out top 90. Again, we're going to talk about 91 through 100 in the next slide. 90, Joey B, Smokin' Jay, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. What more do I have to say? Elite wide receivers, shitty defense, good quarterback, okay offensive line, maybe? Okay, that might be a little bit of a reach saying okay, but pretty okay offensive line. They drafted Jamar Chase instead of offensive line, which is a bit crazy, but it is what it is. Burrow's good, should be healthy, and can run the ball a little bit, has a lot of upside. Pick 90, can't be going anything wrong with Joe Burrow. Again, the quarterbacks are probably ranked lower than most people have them, but that's just because I'm not really looking to draft quarterbacks super early. Here in this range, I'm fine taking Joe Burrow. Very happy with a guy like Joe Burrow. On the next slide, I believe we have a bunch of quarterbacks that we are going to be talking about. At 91 and 92, Matty Snapback, quarterback of the LA Rams. 92, Ryan Tannehill, quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. All of those guys, very close for me. Stafford obviously doesn't have any rushing upside at all. Tannehill has more. Joe Burrow probably has the most. But out of those three guys, you could probably flip a coin. You can't flip a coin a three. Maybe if there's a new three-sided coin I don't know about, but you fucking random it. 33% chance that any of these guys outscore each other. I think Stafford's in an excellent offense with McVay. That's why I got him above Tannehill, but Tannehill's also in an excellent offense in Tennessee, but I think Tennessee is going to be more likely to run than Stafford's team in the LA Rams. So that's why I still like Akers. I still like Henry. Like, these are just quarterbacks on very good teams, except for the Bengals, obviously. At 93, we have Laviska Shenault, wide receiver of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, he could easily beat out DJ Chark. He really easily could, but it just depends on who Trevor Lawrence wants to throw the ball to more. 94, we got Michael Carter, running back of the New York Football Jets. People seem to be, on Twitter at least, now fantasy Twitter, I don't know if you guys are on there. If you are, follow me, at NotoriousFNTSY if you don't already, is one of the biggest, the most confusing place you'll ever be on. Someone tweets out, I love Michael Carter. Someone responds, you dumb motherfucker, this is Ty Johnson's backfield. Someone else responds, you fucking idiot, it's LaMichael P. Ryan's backfield. It's like very confusing on there. I think it's Michael Carter's backfield. I think that he's the guy, but he's also on the Jets, which shouldn't be that great of a team. So that's why he's down here, because they're not going to be running the ball as much. At 95, we have a Bizzle, Antonio Brown, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, shout out to Tom Brady, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. Finished the season, played the whole season, I believe, based on that report, on a torn MCL. What? A torn MCL? Antonio Brown comes back last season, 8 games in, goes there, plays well, catches a fucking touchdown in the Super Bowl. Call God, Antonio Brown. That's what he says when he scores. I love Antonio Brown, wide receiver of the Bucks. He is obviously the least desirable wide receiver, but that almost makes him the most desirable because he goes so late that I think he's going to have a bunch of flash games this year. At 96, we have Logan Thomas. At 97, Robert Tonyan, the forbidden tight end range. Again, where I'm not really looking to draft these guys. Logan Thomas, if you told me at the end of this year that Logan Thomas was a complete bust and he was terrible, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If you told me you rubbed the crystal ball and it tells you Robert Tonyan sucked ass this year, wouldn't be surprised at all either. Those are two guys that could be like Tyler Eifert, like Gary Barnidge, that just end up fizzling out very quickly, especially Barnidge, fizzling out so fast. That could be either of those guys. But they could also have another great season. So that's kind of how I feel about them. 98, Jalen Hurts. I like Hurts. Has a lot of rushing upside. That's why he's above Brady. Because it's very easy for someone who's rushing the ball to finish higher because it's so easy to get points running the ball. And Brady's going to have to really step up passing to pass him. But Jalen Hurts also may not be the quarterback there. 98, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. The guy's going to throw the ball a million times, throw not 1,000 yards, right? That's like nothing. A zillion yards, maybe even 5,000 yards. A zillion touchdowns, but he's limited by the fact that he can't run the ball. 100, final player of the rankings video. Let me know down below if you guys want to see 150 sometime this week. Zach Moss, running back of the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I hate Devin Singletary. I am Devin Singletary's #1 hater. Devin Singletary, if you're watching this, I hope that you play like shit when you play up against the Dolphins. Again, at the end of the day, I don't hate any of these players, right? I don't think Devin Singletary is like a complete bum, right? He's an NFL running back, but, he can't sniff. He can't sniff that value that Zach Moss has. I genuinely believe Zach Moss is a very talented running back who, if he's able to stay healthy, which is a big concern of his, could be great for this Buffalo Bills offense, who's going to be scoring a lot of points and being able to run the ball a lot late in games. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you ended up enjoying throughout this rant. This is probably a 50-minute long video. That's crazy that you watched all this. So thank you guys for watching. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe. As always, have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure you subscribe, hit that fucking like button, and comment down below something about your girl, like Ice JJ Fish, if any of you guys know what I'm talking about there. Comment down aloe in the comment section, because I needed some aloe vera when I got sunburned. It's sitting over there next to me. It sounded like someone's knocking on my door. I almost shit myself. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys all. Make sure that you stay safe, stay sexy. I love you. Goodbye.